Hey friends, Sean from Draft Therapy here, and on today's review for you, I must break you. Dirty Commie Heathen is a 12.4% Russian Imperial Stout from Unknown Brewing Company in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'd never heard of Unknown Brewing Company until maybe just a month or two ago when Pete from the brewery reached out to me. And being a Michigan beer-centric video kind of guy or whatever I do, it's really easy to put on blinders and forget about the rest of the beer world. So when Pete offered to send me a few of their beers, I really just I jumped at the chance to be able to put this one through the paces. Now, full disclosure, Unknown sent this to me free of charge in exchange for a fair and honest review. I haven't had this before. I haven't tried it yet, as with all these beers. And you might say, well, wait, I know that there are different kinds of stouts, but what's a Russian Imperial Stout? So in really simple terms, they usually have a bit more of a fruity aroma and a dark fruit flavor, and they should have a little bit more of an alcohol bite with a sweet or a drier finish. So let's take a look at the label and we'll get this beer into a glass. Now, fun fact, legend has it that Tsar Peter the Great requested the Russian Imperial Stout after drinking an ancestor of the porter while he was in England. So let's take a look at the label here, and I'm going to grab my glass, which is just going to be a regular snifter glass, and it has a picture of Stalin here. There's something, it looks like an explosion of some sort in the background, and he has a green mustache. It says Dirty Commie Heathen, Russian Imperial Stout with bourbon, aged oak, and cherries. This is a 12.4% alcohol by volume. It's a 2019 edition. There's a lot of info on this can in a small amount of space. There isn't a date on the can, but this is only April, so if this is a 2019 edition, it has to be fairly recent, and it has like a grain of wheat that's bent to look like a question mark with a hop cone. That's their logo, and it says, unlike the former Soviet Union, this beer ages well. It's brewed by the Unknown Brewing Company in Charlotte, North Carolina, and if you want to find out more about them, you can go to unknownbrewing.com. So we're going to go ahead and get this into the glass. Let's go ahead and open it first. It's a really cool label design, and they sent me another beer. It was called Almost Heaven, and it's you'll have to look up the can or the label. It's a really cool label. I'll just leave it at that. So let's get a nose out of the can here, and I'm getting a dark fruit kind of aroma. And when I say dark fruit, I mean like raisins or not necessarily prunes, but raisins. Think more raisins. That's what I'm getting more out of the scent here. Getting a tiny bit of a bourbon kind of smell on the aroma. So let's go ahead and pour this. It looks a little lighter than I would have expected, but it does have has a dark purple kind of color coming directly out of the can. And it's got a good amount of head forming now. It's maybe about a finger to a half finger's worth. I mean, really super tight bubbles. If you see the overhead, which you will see, it's got a lot of tight bubbles right around the edges. And then in the middle, it's still tight, but not as, maybe a little bit tighter in the middle with some larger bubbles and a good amount of carbonation coming up from the bottom. Holding it up to the light, it's very dark. It has that kind of light brown. Again, I talk about the bulb because when you look at a dark beer through a tulip like this or this kind of Belgian glass, you can't really see a whole lot of color when it's dark like this, but around that bulb, that's where you start to pick up that kind of light brown character. And like I said, pouring it was a lot lighter coming out of the can than I was expecting. So let's get a bitter nose here, and I'll tell you more about the scent. Yeah, getting a little bit of the bourbon kind of scent out of it. Getting again a little bit more of that dark fruit, but it doesn't have a whole lot of scent to it. It's kind of mute. It's very kind of buried deep in there. Some of these bourbon barrel aged beers or higher ABV beers, when you open them, it's like a kick to the face of just bourbon. So I'm not getting this out of this one, but let's give it a taste. Cheers. It's got a very roasty, malty kind of flavor in there, but it's also very sweet. It's got a really nice sweet quality. And what I'll say right now is that when I say sweet, some of these beers that have been maple bourbon barrel aged or bourbon barrel aged, they are really sweet up front. And this one is sweet, but it's not like sugary sweetness. It's more of that kind of dark fruit sweetness. It's got more of kind of like a sweet kind of raisiny taste to it, which is a good change of pace for all these really sweet bourbon barrel aged beers that I've had lately. like I said, it's got a lot of sweetness up front. I'm not picking up on a lot of the bourbon characteristics, but I am picking up on the oak. Like it's got a good oaky kind of taste. I get a lot of it more on the tail end, like on the finish after I swallowed, than I get in the actual initial upfront. And it has, for how thin it looked when I was pouring it, because I could see a lot through it, it has a really nice medium mouthfeel. It's not, I thought it was going to be a lot thinner on the mouthfeel than it is when I've actually tried it. It's got a nice medium mouthfeel. It has this kind of back end finish, this roasty, malty kind of taste, and it's got this really it just has a really roasty kind of finish on the tail end as well. Again, that's probably a lot has to do with that barrel. You're getting a lot of the barrel taste out of it, a lot of that oaky kind of barrel. And a lot of the fruitiness that I'm getting, a lot of that dark fruit, is also, the sweetness is cut, I think, with the kind of the cherry flavor, the dark, it's like a dark cherry. It's not a cherry like a maraschino cherry, sweet cherry, but it's more, it picks up more of the bitterness of the cherry taste. It's not a super sweet cherry again, but it has a really nice cherry flavor to it, but it's not, again, not overpowering. It just hangs in there really well. It's like, it took me a few, even though it says cherries on the can, it took me a few tastes to actually be able to, differentiate the cherry from more of that dark fruit kind of flavor, but it's in there as well. This is just, it's 12.4%. Is that what it's 12.4%? That is an insanely high ABV, and not tasting it in this beer. I'm not getting any kind of alcohol burn. I'm not getting any kind of bitterness from the alcohol. It is an extremely dangerous Imperial Russian Stout, because that 12.4% is just hidden so deeply and so well in there that I could easily finish this and not realize it was 12% and say, hey, let's try another one. Hey, that was really good. You want to have another? And yeah, and then be feeling the 12.4% after I was done. All right, friends, that has been Dirty Commie Heathen from Unknown Brewing Company. Have you had anything from Unknown Brewing, or do you have a favorite Russian Imperial Stout? Let me know in the comments down below. And while you're down there, if you like Michigan beer in particular, you might want to subscribe and click that bell, because I'm here talking about Michigan beer twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And, I throw in a beer from outside of the state every once in a while, too. You never know if I'm going to be talking about your next favorite beer if you're not subscribed to the channel. So until next time, I'm Sean from Draft Therapy. Thanks for stopping by. And remember, drink craft beer, support your local breweries wherever they are, and most importantly, don't forget to treat yourself to a little draft therapy. Thanks for watching. Cheers.